Netflix is planning on rebooting the Chronicles of Narnia, a book series by C.S. Lewis, and they're planning on doing it with two of the worst possible picks, Amy Pascal and Greta Gerwig. However, it seems that the film is facing delays. I wonder what that's about. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. If you want to support me in the work that I do, head on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com, where you can subscribe for more pop culture content. Okay, so Netflix, they have been bragging about this Chronicles of Narnia reboot for some time now. And I remember when I found out that Amazon MGM Studios had gotten the rights to Lord of the Rings to produce The Rings of Power, I went on the Jenna Ellis show and I told her C.S. Lewis is next, and it appears to be the case. Netflix has recruited Greta Gerwig to direct the first film at least, and Amy Pascal, who, if you don't know, she's kind of like the Kathleen Kennedy of the Sony Spider-Man universe. Sony finally fired her, although she was hired by Greta Gerwig to do the Chronicles of Narnia. I don't know why anyone would hire her after the disaster that was the Sony Spider-Man villain universe. It just makes no sense. But here she is being tacked onto the Chronicles of Narnia, and I am not happy about it. But I will say it is interesting because the movie is facing a little bit of a delay. It was supposed to begin filming July 2025, but it seems like it's being delayed until the fall. So this is according to the Fandom Pulse. A new report suggests that production on Netflix and Greta Gerwig's production start for their Chronicles of Narnia film has been delayed to fall. Screen Daily reports Greta Gerwig's much anticipated Chronicles of Narnia feature is also in pre-production, though filming looks unlikely to begin until autumn. Producer Amy Pascal previously shared that production was supposed to start in July. She told Deadline, "We start shooting in July. It's a very new take on Narnia. It's all about rock and roll." Production is expected to take place outside of London at Shepperton Studios. While Netflix has not officially announced which books they plan on adapting for this first film, the film's hair and makeup designer Ivana Primorac told the Real Girls Club podcast that it would be The Magician's Nephew. She said Greta Gerwig's going to kick off with the first book. So she's going to do the first book, which is The Magician's Nephews, and that one's never been done before, and it's brilliant, so yeah, we're going to do that. Primorac also described work on the film as kind of daunting at the moment, so that feels like, how are we going to do that? Now, after you're done watching this video, head on over to fandompulse.com and read the article. It's by John Trent, who's a really good reporter. So yeah, you can see why I think it was bad to bring on Amy Pascal on this project, her saying it's a new take and it's about rock and roll. We don't want a new take. The Chronicles of the Narnia trilogy, which included The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, did a decent job adapting the Narnian books. Now, Prince Caspian, they had to add some things to make this movie a little bit longer. I didn't think they were necessary, but they weren't harmful to the script. Voyage of the Dawn Treader, they had to rearrange it because Voyage of the Dawn Treader, it's more episodic than the other books. The other books just tend to have like a straight narrative that's told through flashbacks or even slash sideways, if you will. But the Voyage of the Dawn Treader follows the characters as they go from one event to the other, and so the movie kind of rearranged the events and connected them more to the finale of the film, which again makes sense because otherwise you get sort of an anthology film, which is a way they could have shot it, I guess, but they were still decent films. Now, as a more conservative person, you've heard me talk about that. I make no secrets about it. I guess I'm supposed to like Greta Gerwig because people say she put non-woke messaging in Barbie and Lady Bird. And I'm not saying she's not a talented director, but she was wrong to direct the Chronicles of Narnia. For one thing, she hasn't really done a fantasy film. No, Barbie doesn't count. Barbie is definitely an adventure film, but I wouldn't call it fantasy. It's more sort of urban paranormal if you really want to narrow it down. But anyway, they should have gotten someone who would respect and honor C.S. Lewis's faith. He inputted a lot of his faith into these stories. I mean, Aslan is a stand-in for Christ. He's called the Lion of the tribe of Judah in the Bible, and it makes more sense for someone who would at least connect with that to direct this movie. I would have loved to have seen someone who would be faithful to the story, like Peter Jackson was with Lord of the Rings, although less so with The Hobbit. Although I will say Rings of Power has given me a whole new appreciation for The Hobbit. Like I said, Amy Pascal is kind of the Kathleen Kennedy of the Sony Spider Man universe, which of course didn't have Spider Man. It had all of his villains, but no Spider Man. And she is one of the reasons those movies were so terrible. Besides the Venom movies, I kind of like the Venom movies and I kind of like Craven the Hunter. Didn't like any of the other ones. But she somehow keeps failing upwards. So she destroyed the Spider Man villain universe, film universe, and then she gets picked up by Amazon MGM, and now she's helping produce Netflix's Narnia film franchise. It makes no sense why they would pick her up. This film needed to have someone like a David Mamet or a Steven Spielberg or someone of that pedigree where they could make a decent film that is based in Narnia and is a solid adaptation of the books. Now, I will say one thing I will compliment Greta Gerwig on was early when this was first announced, they were saying they were going to adapt The Silver Chair, and I thought that that was a bad idea because The Silver Chair, it's not a bad part of the series, it's just a bad place to reboot. If you want to reboot Narnia, you really need to either do The Magician's Nephew or The Horse and His Boy, and in this case, I'm glad she decided to go with The Magician's Nephew. So that good for her. I think that's good if the hairstylist is accurate. I just think it's a bad idea to attach someone who has such a secular view of the world, who wants to take Narnia, which is based on classic adventure stories and tied to a lot of medieval lore and of course tied to its biblical foundation, and make it rock and roll. There's nothing wrong with rock and roll. It's my favorite music genre, but there is something wrong when you put it with the Chronicles of Narnia. And like I said, I would have liked to have seen a Peter Jackson or Christopher Nolan or a David Mamet direct these films. I think that would be really solid. I think that would work well for the Chronicles of Narnia. It makes so much more sense. But this is modern day Hollywood, and I have a feeling it's going to scale back the biblical themes and it's going to insert a bunch of woke ideology. So the White Witch, she's no longer going to be this evil witch who destroyed and massacred her own world and then goes into our world and causes all kinds of trouble, and then goes into Narnia, where she then plots an eternal winter to subjugate people. She is not going to be that. She is going to be an oppressed woman who is betrayed by someone that she loved, and she's probably also a closeted lesbian who is all wise, but just make a wrong turn because people were so mean to her. I guarantee you that's what's coming with the White Witch. They're also going to take Susan and they're going to probably turn her into some sort of girl boss. Now, C.S. Lewis was criticized very heavily, particularly for the conclusion of Susan's arc, because he ended the story where she forgot about Narnia and she grew up and she became a young woman who then wanted to live her life as a young woman. She got more interested in doing her hair and makeup and dresses, and people were calling that sexist. It's not sexist. It's just she grew up and she forgot about Narnia and she didn't hold on to that childlike wonder that her brothers and her sister and her cousin held on to. Instead, she decided to live life and move on and become someone else. And that's not sexist. That's just how it happened. That's just how it ended. But no, in this world, she's going to be the bestest ever. And she's going to be sort of a Katniss Everdeen girl boss who's going to go in there and she's going to slay queen and do all this other crazy stuff. She's going to basically become a female Legolas. Now, I'm surmising that. This is my opinion, but based on what I have seen of Amy Pascal and Greta Gerwig and the fact that it's even rumored that Meryl Streep is going to be Aslan, that is an issue I have with it. I could be wrong. I could sit down, I could sit down and load up Netflix or go see it in the IMAX theater, and I could be blown away by how good of an adaptation it is. I'm sorry, I just don't think that's going to happen. But what do you think? Tell me, are you excited about the Netflix Narnia? Do you disagree with my doom and gloom perspective? Do you think it's going to be a masterpiece? Do you think Gerwig has the chops? Do you think Amy Pascal's past is in the past? I would love to know. Please tell me in the comments section below. But for my part, sorry, not sorry. I just don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a typical Hollywood subversion of expectations so they can score woke points and take a Christian myth that was created by a great Christian writer and turn it into some sort of secularized lesson where the characters are unrecognizable. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. If you want to support me and the work that I do, head on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. The link is in the description of the video. You can read most of my articles for free, or there's different subscriber tiers that unlock various perks for all of my subs. Thank you in advance. On that same website, there's a conveniently titled Buy My Book section, which has links where you can purchase all of my books, and they're all available on Amazon, so pick up one or all four, leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. By the way, C.S. Lewis was a heavy influence, especially in my fantasy series. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.
I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I want to visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where...
For Narnia and Aslan!